All right, with Chodesh, we're learning the Sicha from the Rebbe of Shabbos Parshas Bamidbar, the Mevarchim and Erev Rosh Chodesh Sivan. So like this year. So it says like this: Parshas Bamidbar Karin Tamid Lifnei Shavuos. We always read Parshas Bamidbar prior to the holiday of Shavuos. Sometimes we'll have Bamidbar. We'll have Bamidbar and Nasai. Ariel, good Chodesh. Tama Davarhu. The idea is that we want to separate the techacha, the curses, so to say, from the last week's parsha to Matan Torah. That it shouldn't go straight from one to the next. We should have something in between, which is Parshas Bamidbar. Or sometimes, like I said, rarely we'll have two parshas, Nasi and Bamidbar. And because everything in Torah, the idea also when things are near each other is exact. It's not just that we needed something to be in between Parshas Bechukoisei and Parshas and Shavuos. So we have Bamidbar, but there has to be a connection, an essential connection between the Parsha and the idea of Shavuos. Shekriyas Parshas Bamidbar Dafka Koidim Shavuos. There has to be something that specifically with Bamidbar to Shavuos. The reason cannot be only to separate between the curses and the giving of the Torah. Also, we must assume that the ideas that are discussed in this week's parsha are connected to one's preparation to receiving the Torah. Parshas Bamidbar Medubar Beker Oidus Minyan B'nei Yisrael. This week's parsha speaks mainly about the counting of the Jewish people. Because we find a general counting in this week's parsha, and then we recount the Jewish people at the end of the 40 years in the parsha of Pinchas at the end of Bamidbar. Therefore, Nikr Kol HaSefer, the entire book of Bamidbar, is known as B'Shem Chumash HaPikudim. It's known as the Chumash of counting. And so we know there has to be some sort of connection to counting the Matan Torah, because we have also the counting of the Omer that prepares us for Matan Torah. So we see there's something about counting that prepares a person for the receiving of Torah. What's so special about counting? This is a preparation for the giving of the Torah. Okay, we want to understand the idea of what's the connection between Bamidbar and and one's preparing for the Matan Torah, and specifically that the idea of Bamidbar is mainly this week's parsha deals with the counting of the Jewish people. So what's the counting of the Jewish people connected to Matan Torah? What is the reason that God asks that Moshe should count the Jewish people? Isa b'medrash. The Medrash gives us an idea. This is because of the importance of the Jewish people. Is Nimshlu Yisrael ka'arima shalchitim. So therefore the Jewish people are so special to God, they're like a heap of wheat. Just like when a person brings their wheat into the storage, it's by counting to know exactly how much wheat you have. So too, God wants that the Jewish people should constantly be counted because they're important to God. And something that's important to you, you count. But the Rebbe says, "Ach any movement, but still not understood." The reason why a person counts something that's important and valuable, it's not just because you count them. Children just count, but an adult counts only if you have a reason, and the reason would be to know how much you have. God doesn't need to count the Jewish people to know. God knows everything. And one of the things he knows is how many Jewish people there are. So why does God need to count them? Why does God need that Moshe should count the Jewish people? Yes, it's important. Yes, it's valuable. But that value, the value of the number of the Jewish people, God knows without the counting. So what's the counting accomplish if it's just to let us know the number? So therefore, the Rebbe quotes an idea that's brought down in the Shalach. It's brought down, the Shalach Kodesh says, very much connected to Rosh Chodesh Sivan, like we said before that we read the tefillah of the Shalach on Erev Rosh Chodesh, is Huva v'nizbar b'Chassidus, brought down in Chassidus, Isa says, Sha'idei ha'minyan nasa b'nei Yisrael davar b'shem minyan. It's not just that counting is a number, that God needs to know the number, and therefore the question is, God doesn't need to know the number by counting. He knows the number without counting. But the Shla teaches us something else. It's not just that we need to know the number. It's when you count something, it becomes a davar shebeminion, something that's counted. But davar shebeminion leibatal. The law is that when we have things that could get nullified, right? A numbers game, right? If 1 in 100, 1 in 200, 1 in 60, 1 in 3, whatever the number is halachically, where when there's a group, so something that could be pure or impure, something kosher, non-kosher, it becomes nullified. Is only applies to things that are not counted. Something that's special, that it's counted, means gets sold by the number. So it doesn't make a difference. It's too special and it doesn't get absorbed, so to say, in a larger number. That's the halacha. So therefore, when you count the Jewish people, davar sheminin lebatal. So therefore, the Jewish people, no matter how many Jews or how few Jews, let's say there are chas v'shalom, to the multiple nations, a person may say, well, we're less than 0.25%. That's nothing. And halachically, such a percentage should be nullified. But because we're counted people, therefore we're not nullified no matter what number we're absorbed into. B'nai Yisrael bein umas ha'olam, the Jewish people amongst the nations. Harihem kifsa bein shivim zevim. It's like a sheep amongst 70 wolves. It's possible that technically the Jewish people should be nullified. There's too few Jews, too many people. God said, no, the Jewish people are counted people, and something that's counted never gets nullified. So something that's counted never gets nullified. Okay, so that's what the Shalach Kodesh says, why we count. One could still ask a question. The reason why the halacha is that something that's counted is not nullified. The Rebbe is going backwards now. The Rebbe says, okay, so what is the counting do? The counting is not that the counting itself makes something special. If you count it, it's a sign that it's special. Right? So the fact that you're counting is a sign on some the importance of the thing that's been counted. It's not the counting that may hold on, Aaron. It's not the counting that doesn't nullify it. It's the importance of the thing, and what shows us that it's important, it's that's being counted. So let me just finish the question. V'nimsa. It's not the counting that makes it not be nullified. The counting is only a sign to let us know that it's important, and the importance of it makes it not nullified. Yes, Aaron.
I heard, and maybe I'm wrong, but I heard that we as humans can't count people or Jews. We have to count like their hats or something. So all this counting of the Jews you're talking about, I don't understand if we're not allowed to count.
You're not allowed to count it 1, 2, 3, 4, but there's the Torah gives us methods of counting. We count not through numbers. We count through counting. If everyone gave a half a shekel, you count a half a shekel. It's not the count. It's just the idea is to give an evil eye. When you count something, there's an evil eye. So avoid the evil eye. So we count it in an indirect way, but it doesn't change the fact that we count it. So the Jewish people. So the Rebbe's question over here is that it's not again. God doesn't need to count it to know the numbers. So he's saying is that why did we count? Because it's something that's counted doesn't get nullified. But it's not that the counting makes it not nullified. It's the importance of it that makes it unnullified. So the fact is that the fact that the Jewish people are important to God, that itself doesn't have to go through the process of counting because God doesn't need to count. He knows the number. Because the Jewish people are an important people to God, right? Of course, the Jewish people come before the world. So therefore, because they're important, they should be counted, but they don't need to be counted. So we don't need the counting to make them that they shouldn't be nullified. Why do we have to actually count them? It means all we have to do is introduce the idea that the Jewish people are an important entity, an important people, and therefore we won't be nullified amongst the nations. So we could accomplish it without counting. When you count, when a person has to count, a person doesn't the counting because the person doesn't know the number. But God knows the number, so then He doesn't have to actually count. All we need is to attribute the importance of the Jewish people to reveal that the Jewish people are important, therefore they're not nullified. So the Rebbe continues. Ka'amar li'il, hine parshas Bamidbar, and the Rebbe says in footnote number 14, even more than that. it's not that you have to, for instance, even if you have things that are not nullified because they're counted, those things don't need to be actually counted every single time. If it's a commodity that gets counted, so it's not that you have to say, okay, did you count this commodity? It's no, this is a commodity that's counted, even if actually sometimes it doesn't get counted, but it's a commodity. It's a kind of thing that gets counted. So to the Jewish people, doesn't need to be, doesn't have to actually be counted. It just needs to reveal the importance that it is an entity that has importance, and therefore it doesn't get nullified. So what we're trying to understand, what the Rebbe is trying to understand is, what is the actual need of counting the Jewish people? If it's just to reveal importance, so that we could have the importance without the counting. So therefore the Rebbe continues, as we said before, the Parsha of Bamidbar is a preparation for the receiving of the Torah. What happened in Matan Torah? This is when there's no longer a separation between spirituality and physical things. You can't say there's my spiritual side to me and there's my material side to me. Matan Torah introduced the concept that it's all one. Mitzvahs, shofnei Matan Torah, when someone did a mitzvah before the giving of the Torah, you weren't able to affect the article that was used for the mitzvah. Things didn't become holy. You could do holy things, but articles, things of materialism, didn't become holiness. That should have holiness. Matan Torah, what did the giving of the Torah affect? It gave that nesinas koyach, it gave in a strength. When the Jewish people start performing Torah mitzvahs, yizachechu as a gashmis ha'olam. Wow, Shkoch Howard, that they were able to refine the material world. I mean, up until that point, it's not just that the article didn't come holy. The person did holy things, but the world didn't change. If the world didn't change, so then the world stayed in a material form. Now that Hashem gave the Torah, He allowed, and it became an idea. Bring holiness and reveal holiness within the actual physical things that you do mitzvahs. Therefore, hold on. To bring in holiness. Kivan, Shavoide b'nei Yisrael la'achim matan Torah. He lifa kedusha b'olam. That is the idea. It's not just that you can. That becomes the importance. The importance comes that we should bring holiness into the world. Sha'olam atzmai, the actual physical world, Yedir leisbarach, should become resting place for God. Therefore, in order for the Jewish people to be able to turn things of the world into holiness and make it a dwelling place for Hashem, we have to see that within the Jewish people themselves. Had the importance of the Jewish people been only in a spiritual, that there are spiritual people, but not that they have an ability to turn holiness, to turn material things into holiness, and we wouldn't be able to see in the material things that Jewish people are able to turn material ideas into holiness, into godliness, or to reveal the godliness in it. Even though then the Jewish people still wouldn't be nullified, because there are special people that are holy. The world would not rule over, God forbid, the Jewish people, to stop them, or to prevent them from doing their service, for themselves. So here the Rebbe says something else. Here's the Rebbe answering the question. Why does it have to be physical counting? We said, if you're something special, you're special. The Rebbe says, if you're just special, so then you would be able to remain just special. In order for the Jewish people to not just remain special, something davar chashuv, something important, but doesn't get nullified, and therefore the nations can't prevent the Jewish people from being a people that are holy. But in order for them to be able to perform, that they should be able to turn the world into holy, to reveal the holiness within the world. So therefore, their importance has to be revealed in a worldly thing. Means that in order for them to take it to the next level, means that you could have, for instance, when a lot of the times you had, for instance, the beginning of communism, the communist regime was saying, if you're an old chassid, an old rabbi, and you want to sit at home and daven a whole day in your tefillin and learn Torah, that's fine. We have no issue with that, So that generation will die out. But to go open up your schools and to go turn the world, to go put menorahs out in public places, to go make the world into a godly place, don't do that. Stay in your own space. You want to be holy, you want to be Jewish, do that in your own space. Don't try to change the world. So so in order for the Jewish people to say that no, our vote here is to change the world. So it's not enough to show that we're an important people. We have to show our importance within the world. Therefore, that we would have to be counted with Poil actually. Not just that they are an important people, but by counting them in a physical form, it shows their importance within the numbers of the world, and therefore means that they have the ability to change within the world itself, not just to remain a holy people. To express as that there's something we did physically. We counted them. Therefore, we're able to penetrate and bring holiness and reveal the holiness in the world itself. And that's why we understand the connection between the Parsha of Bamidbar with the giving of the Torah. The very fact that they counted the Jewish people, and their importance came in something that was done, that they were counted. They're able to make that the world should be a sanctuary for God. That's the whole importance of Man Torah. And now we understand the connection between Parshas Bamidbar with the Parsha with this. The Rebbe continues. Based on this, we'll also understand why did we only count the Jewish people, not the Levites, but the regular Israelites were counted only from the age of 20 onwards? If you're talking about the importance of the Jewish people, that they are a people that can make a difference in the world, we should have counted from when they were born. Why do we only count them from when they're 20? So all the Jewish people should be something. We should reveal the counting, the importance of the counting, the chashivos, and bring it into the world to anyone who's alive. No one should be nullified amongst the nations. Why do we only count the males from 20 years old and on? So the Rebbe says like this: what's the difference between when a person is prior to the 20 years old and after 20 years old? So the Rebbe says, before a person is 20, up until the age of 20, you're not going out to the world yet. That's your time of education. That's the time you're supposed to sit a whole day in the yeshiva and study Torah. Like it says, he quotes the Pirkei Avos that says, Ben Chamesh, when a person turns 5, you learn 5 years of the Chumash, of the written Torah. After you've spent 5 years studying the Torah, you learn the Mishnah, and after 5 years you learn the Talmud. Right? So from 5 to 10 you learn the Torah. From 10 to 15 you learn the Mishnah. From 15 to 20 you learn the Talmud. The idea of the learning is not so much that the learning itself penetrates the world. It affects you, and then you will be a strong person that later should be able to go into the world and be effective. And the Rebbe says even more than that. When a person wants to really understand something, it's a good time to cut yourself off. You cut yourself off from distractions, from the worldly things, so you could kind of be misboded, you could be isolated in an environment of study, and therefore you could understand that it's easier to be focused in your studying. Rebbe Shimon on page 464, understanding the importance of counting. The Rebbe already explained that the idea of Bamidbar counting with Shvuos is that davar sheminyan leibater, something that's counted doesn't get nullified. And why do we have to physically count if God knows the number? If the main thing is the importance, it shouldn't be the counting itself. So the Rebbe says because in order for us to have a chashivas, an importance that we could penetrate the world, the action of our importance has to be revealed in something worldly, which is counting. Now the Rebbe is addressing the question: why does one only get counted from the age of 20, not before 20? If it's a davar sheminyan for a chashuv, it should be chashuv from when we're born. So the answer is because the first 20 years of a life, a person actually has to be cut off from the world. That's when you're supposed to be spending your time studying Torah. page 464, the beginning of the second paragraph. Aval ben esrim lirdov, when a person turns 20, right, we get the energy. Lirdov means to run. You're a person of movement. You're ready to run and conquer the world. Begil esrim, when a person turns 20, you have to go out to the army. You're a person who's out in a space of battle. You go out and conquer the world, right? It's time to conquer the world. Take all that studying and all that preparation and all that time of isolation that built your character, and now go out and affect the world. Be fruitful, multiply, and fill the world. And conquer it. So says in the Torah. Last is men, and what does it mean to conquer the world? Last is men, dear La'isbarach, make the world a resting place for Hashem. And how does one do it? Through Kiyum mitzvahs. Means the first 20 years is the focus of the Torah. And the mitzvahs is while you're engaging in worldly things, you're turning the world into the material world into a holy, a dwelling place for Hashem. That's why we didn't count those before the age of 20. Up until 20, their idea wasn't for them to go be effective in the world. It's to build inner strength. To be effective on yourself. And for that, so like he said in the beginning, it's not that the Jewish people are not important up until the age of 20. But their importance doesn't have to be brought out in a worldly way, because it's not about them conquering the world. We said before that the reason why we have to actually count the Jewish people and not to reveal their inner importance that they have, even if they're not counted, right? Because the Davish Minyan is only a revelation. When you count something that's counted, shows us that that's something important. So why do we have to actually count it? So you're right. If up until the age of 20, where you don't have to actually conquer the world, so then your inner importance is enough. When you come reach the age of 20, and the idea is to go out and turn the world the material world into a holy place, so then also that has to be brought down in a material way of counting. Then up until the age is maspika, it's enough. As you mentioned before. But once a person reaches the age of 20, a person who goes out to the army of Hashem, to go out and turn the world into a godly place, to go be effective and conquer the world. Then it's not enough to be a people that are important. That has to actually reveal itself in an actual counting. The world sees it, right? So you have sometimes a person or an idea that's special. It's special because it's special. But someone else who's standing on the side says, who says this is special? Oh, I see you're counting it, now I see it's special. So the Rebbe continues. We're not doing the footnotes. There seems to be a lot of important footnotes over here, but we're just going to go with the original text. Hey, bottom page 464. Kamalil, as mentioned before, Nikr Sefer of Midbar Chumash Habikudim. The whole book of Bamidbar is known as the book of counting. Shem u befrat b'Lashon HaKodesh. When you have a name, specifically the name is in the Holy Tongue, meaning the Lashon HaKodesh. Mora al techoinish al davar nikr b'shem zeh. The word pekudim itself, we have to analyze the word so to give us an understanding about the thing that it's being called. V'kivan shesefer b'midbar nikra pekudim, and because the book of Devarim is called pekudim, v'ikra al shem haseder rishona, because the first parsha of the counting. Harizer raya, it's a proof shatoichin shal parshas b'midbar hu etzem inyan haminyan. From here we see that the idea is it's called counting. It's not just that counting is a side thing. That the whole idea is counting itself. That's the whole point, is the counting. He says not only because it's a sign of importance, but the actual counting itself, like we said before, as Bamidbar being a preparation for Matan Torah, is in itself an idea of importance. That's why also the counting of the Omer is a preparation for Matan Torah. Even though that in Sfiras Omer, it's not about the cheshiva, it's not about the importance of the Jewish people. Meaning, the idea of counting, the Rebbe introduced that until now we introduced that the idea of counting is a siman, as a sign of importance. And in order for that importance to penetrate physical material space, so it has to be actually counted, not just this thing that can be counted or is counted, but it has to actually be counted. Now the Rebbe is saying is that this is a concept of counting itself, aside for it being a sign of importance, Where do we see that? Because it's also the Spheres Omer, which is a counting of the Omer. It's not about the importance. You're counting how many days we're getting to Shavuos. So we see that there's a concept of just counting for the sake of counting. So the Rebbe explains like this. Techunas haminyan hi shekulam shavim. The Rebbe says in another idea. One of the ideas when you count something, and everything is included in the counting, is, for instance, if you have a pile of change, and in the pile of change you have quarters, nickels, dimes, and pennies. So if you're going to count how many pieces of change you have, so let's say you want to know how many coins are there. So you say there's 100 coins in the pile. So even though one coin is a quarter, which is 25, represents 25 cents, and one coin is a penny, that's only 1 cent. But if you're counting how many coins there are, it's not about how many quarters you have versus how many pennies you have. It's that I have how many coins do I have, even though one coin could be worth 25 cents and another coin is worth 1 cent. But if you're counting, let's say, how many pennies you have, so you're not going to count the quarters. If you want to know how much money you have, so you're going to have to count not just the coins, you're going to have to count that this is a coin that's worth 25 cents, and this is a coin that's only worth 1 cent. And I know, put them all together, I have $5. So here the Rebbe is saying that's the idea of counting. So first we understand there's the concept of the counting Bamidbar about Davar Chashuv. But there's another idea of counting, that counting equalizes everything. Because if you just want to know the number, how many Jews there are, so like the quarters, nickels, dimes, and pennies, it's not about this is an important Jew and this is a less important Jew. We're counting how many Jews there are. And as far as that goes, everyone's one number. The most important Jew and the seemingly the most, what you could, if you would want to call it a not important Jew or a less important Jew, is also all are equally just one number. So here he goes like this. The idea of counting something is shekulam shavim, everything's equal. Hagadol eni yoser mi'echad. When you're counting a number, so a bigger person or an older person, a smarter person, a larger person is not more than one. V'akatan, and the smaller person, eni pachas mi'echad, is not less than one. This is where we have the idea that when we're counting the Jewish people, we're counting the Omer. Every day is one day, right? Well, you can say, "Whoa, this is an important of the days." It's not. It is. It could be in an isolated analyzation. You can say, "Well, Lag BaOmer is an important part of the days of Sfira. Pesach Sheni is an important day," but that's we're looking at the day itself. When you want to know how many days of the Omer you counted 33 days. In the 33 days, there could be a day that seemingly is less significant, and there's a day that's more significant. But it's nothing to do. Each one has one number. The Rebbe says that's the idea. We're counting the Jewish people. Not disregarding the fact that there's a difference in the levels of what's being counted. Everyone was only one number. Moshe Rabbeinu wasn't considered 5 numbers, right? Because if you're counting money value, so a quarter is 25 cents. If you're counting coins, a quarter is 1. Moshe Rabbeinu was also 1. He was also counted. He's 1. So too, when we counted 49 days of the Omer. Notwithstanding to say that there was different days that were counted. And in those days, if it's a weekday, Rosh Chodesh, one of the days is Rosh Chodesh, Chol HaMoed, right? Some of the days were counted at the beginning. We counted part of the days of Pesach. Yom Tov Shabbosis, there's the holidays. Nimna Kol Yom Mitzvah, but nevertheless, everyone is just one day. There's a day of the first day of counting. There's a day, last day of counting, a middle day. It doesn't make a difference what it doesn't change the fact that the day that's being counted has its own significance. So what's this represent? What's this represent when we're saying that the count here, the Rebbe is introducing a deeper idea than we said until now. Until now, we were introducing the importance of the Jewish people. Here, we're introducing the importance of the Jewish people of the fact that it's not about, our importance is not about, what we're counting over here is not about the value of the individual, but the fact that every single Jew is special is not because of what their talents that they've been given, or the koiches that they've been given, but the fact that they're Ben Avram Yitzchak, that they're a Jewish person. That itself is the equal, that everyone's equal. And that's the Rebbe is introducing as a preparation for Matan Torah. When we want to come and receive the Torah, it's not that we look at the Jewish people and say, wow, look, we have Moshe Rabbeinu, we have Aaron, we have the Nesiim, wow, so many special people. No, that's not what we're looking at. We're looking at here we have the Jewish people. These are the Jewish people. And amongst the Jewish people, there's all types. But the reason why they gain the Torah is because these are the Jewish people. So the Rebbe is like this. Sorry. When we count the Jewish people equally. Moral etzem and neshama shebnei Yisrael. We're talking about the soul of the Jewish person. Mitzadke chesemai with gluyim. If you want to look at the talents and strengths of an individual, seichel mides, who's smarter, who has better emotions, who's more emotionally stable. There's a difference between one person and the next. But the essence of the soul, all the Jewish people are equal. What is the difference when we're analyzing the individual's abilities, or we're looking at the fact that he's a Jew or she's a Jew, the fact that they're etzem neshama, that they have a soul? When we're focusing on the person's abilities, havana or regesh, whether it's a person's ability to understand something or to feel something, therefore then the person's being, seine eigene ich, he says in Yiddish, the me of the story, he davar from the atzma likus is separate from God. Means if what I look at a Jewish person, we're holding middle page 465, understanding the idea of counting before Matan Torah. So if the idea of the counting is that I'm looking at the person for their talents, then the more I'm focusing on who I am, the ich, he says, the more I'm separate from godliness, because it's all about me. He's davar b'fnei atzmei melikus, something separate from God. But v'dasa b'kim Torah mitzvahs, and the fact that this person goes on to perform the Torah mitzvahs, he can davar nice v'amitzvusay. It means that I'm talented and I'm applying my talents to serving Hashem. Is who mekayim Torah mitzvahs? I'm a person who does the Torah mitzvahs. Because my mind understands that I want to do Torah. My heart feels I want to do Torah. It's what's good for me. It will make sense to me. But when we're not talking about what's good for you, what's your strength, you're smart, you're feeling, you're an emotional person, you love God, because you're a loving person. When we're counting that you're a Jew, you have a soul, you're etzem neshama, the very fact that you have a soul, which is the unique, which is the oneness. Your soul is the oneness that's connected to the oneness of God. Then your whole being becomes part of God. It's not because of your koiches, your talents, that you're applying to godliness. It's your being, you are a person that's connected to godliness. God, Torah, and the Jewish people are all one. And it comes through us. When we're talking about giving the Torah, what we're trying to reveal over here, and that's why we count. It's an amazing thing the Rebbe is saying. In fact, when we're counting the Jewish people, we're saying 600,000 people stood the Torah. And in those numbers, we're not paying attention to who those people are. Aside from the fact that they're all Jews, they all have Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. They all have the sons and daughters of Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, Leah, and the converts who became under Kanfi Ashchina. And that means they have an essence, they have a soul to God, and that connects that the essential Jew, it connects with the essence of godliness and the essence of Torah. When the idea is to reveal the essence of the soul, which is very much connected to the first day of Rosh Chodesh Sivan, and other talks the Rebbe talks about. That's why the first day of Rosh Chodesh Sivan, the Rebbe doesn't say, Moshe Rabbeinu doesn't say anything to the Jewish people. Because when you start saying things, people say, I understand it when Moshe said, wow, if you were really smart like me, you would understand the depth of Moshe's message. You're a simple person, you only understand the simple message. But Moshe didn't say anything, because it wasn't going to bring out that one person understood better than the next. Because the idea of Matan Torah is first to reveal the essence of the soul. And that's why everyone was counted equally. We also see that in Tzvir Omer. That notwithstanding that the days on their own could be more important days than others, Shabbos, Yom Tov, Chodesh, Lag BaOmer, Pesach Sheni, but that's not what we're counting. We're counting that this is one day of the Omer. And just like yesterday was a day of the Omer, so is today a day of the Omer. When it's all just about intellect and emotions, then the days are different. Some days are more spiritual, less spiritual. When it comes to Chodesh and Shabbos, you're feeling very godly, so you have more passion. When it comes a weekday, you're less excited. You don't have the same passion. So you may think that the day is different. However, page 466, when we're not talking about the talents that we have, we're revealing the essence of the soul. And your essence becomes one with godliness, not what you project. I'm trying to explain the difference between koiches, strengths, whether it's intellect or emotions. It's not essential. It's not the essence. That means I'm applying my mind to God. I'm applying my love to God, right? But when you say, but that's chitzonius. That's more external. When I am who am I? Who I am, my whole existence is connected to God. It's not about because I'm smart or less smart. It's not because I'm loving or less loving. I'm a Jew, and a Jew is connected to God, not the things, not the parts of me that I'm applying to God, and that's what we're revealing in Matan Torah. When a person reveals the essence of the soul, and their whole and the entire essence, becomes one with God. And this then afterwards affects your mind and your heart. Why do I apply my mind to God? Why do I love God? Because my essence is connected to God. Then you're a person that doesn't make a difference. I don't need Shabbos to feel godliness. It means, of course, Shabbos is a holier day, but I'm able to find godliness in every single day, no matter what my scenario or circumstances is in life. I'm connecting to Hashem. All the times and whatever I do, is penetrated by God. Yes, of course, Shabbos, I'm wearing Shabbos clothes and I'm eating Shabbos food and I'm going to shul. So what I'm doing is more godly things. But also in the week, when I'm out there in the work and I'm in my workday clothes and I may be learning less and I'm more preoccupied, but I'm able to penetrate that time with godliness and see that there's a godly purpose in everything that I do. And that's the very reason why it was important to do the counting of the Jewish people. And the counting of the Omer means we have to count our days, but the Rebbe is applying over here is nefesh and zman, right? We know that our life is broken up into three parts: makom, space, time, and our soul, right? So here in the minyan, when you count the Jewish people, the counting of Bamidbar is the revelation of the essence of the soul, and the counting of the Omer is the revelation of our time management, that we don't manage our time based on the importance of the day. Every day is an opportunity for us to serve Hashem, possibly in a different way. On Shabbos, we serve Hashem in one way, and the weekday we serve Hashem in another way. But the idea is every part of our day, every part of our time is connecting to serving Hashem. That's only if we reveal the essence of our avodah, that doesn't need the uniqueness of the day. It's just the time itself is an opportunity to make it in holiness. He continues. This is why the counting of the Jewish people and the counting of the Omer is a preparation for the giving of the Torah. When God says, "I'm Hashem, your Lord," godliness, is not something separate from the Jewish person. You want to know what your strength is? You want to know what your vitality, your life is? That's godliness. Therefore, I'm a person who serves God. Not only while I'm studying Torah, or when I'm performing mitzvah. In all my ways, I know God. So he continues. I think we go one more paragraph. Why do we need two countings before Shavuos? Why isn't one counting enough? He said, each one has something unique that the other one doesn't have. Only by the two types of counting, the countings of the days and the countings of our time, are we able to make ourselves a preparation for Torah. When we count the Jewish people, all we're doing is counting ourselves, our essence, our existence, like I said before. The counting of the Omer, we're counting the days of the Omer. How many days have passed since we did the Omer sacrifice? That's a minyan, that's a counting. That's connected to Avodah. We started Avodah. How much further have we gotten in our service of Hashem? Where's that moving from? This understood. The counting of the Jewish people themselves is connected to our essence. That we're always, every Jew is complete. In the essence of their soul. And the essence doesn't need an avodah. A Jew doesn't need to do something to be a Jew. What makes you Jewish? I'm a Jew because I'm a Jew, because I'm born Jewish. Or because I converted to Judaism. The only thing is that idea that you are a Jew could be concealed. You may not be aware of it, or others may not be aware of it. When the very fact that all of a sudden you say, 1 second, you were just counted. And who you counted with? You were just counted with Moshe Rabbeinu and with Avram equally. That just like he's 1, you're 2. And you make 2. Without you, there wouldn't be 2. We would only have 1. And now that you're here, we have 2. And now that you're here, we have 3. So all of a sudden the person realizes, I'm a Jew. Why am I counted amongst the Jewish people? Because I am a Jewish person. So therefore, by that meaning, when we count a person, it reveals it. When it comes to counting the Omer, it's not enough. We're not just counting that I exist. And then we're counting our avodah, the fact that we're a people that do something. Is the fact that our godly and animalistic soul can accomplish something. That we need to refine it and elevate it through service. First, we do the sacrifice of the Omer. Then each day of the 49 days, we refine another little part of ourselves. We have to refine one avoda, one midah, even though that we're refining every day equally, but every day we're accomplishing a little more. Each one of the 7 weeks has its own midah. And each midah is made up, each attribute is made up of 7. Therefore, the 49 days we will refine all the different characteristics that we have within ourselves to make them holy and shining for God. Each day we refine another attribute. Therefore, each person has to count. It's not enough to say, well, they're counting in synagogue. Why do I have to count? Because you have to count. You have to refine yourself. Each individual Jew. Until you can work out that some person's going to count and another person's not going to count. But when it comes to counting the Jewish people, then it doesn't make a difference. They're counted by Moshe. And the reason why it's not enough for your neighbor to count, you have to count because you have to refine yourself. It's not enough that someone else refine themselves, and that should be effective on you. All right, we're going to stop here. There's one more idea that the Rebbe continues with, but we'll stop here, and I wish everyone again a Chodesh Tov, a good Shabbos, and we'll be in touch. And if those I don't see before Yom Tov, a good Yom Tov.